Got
Says
it.
yeah, says we're live.
All right, cool beans. We should start seeing everybody on that stuff. All right. Yep, there we go. Oh, oh, look, there I am drinking like I normally do. No, just kidding. All right, guys. Well, Daniela, it's a pleasure to meet you, Daniela. I can't hear you, so if you want, it's up to you if you want to unmute yourself. You don't have to, but I know you gave me some files to look at, so you're more than welcome to do that if you want to. Again, unmute yourself, so we'll go over that stuff. Now, most of you guys here, and Danielle, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. I think most of you have a pretty good understanding of your camera systems as far as that goes when it comes to black and white photography. The idea is, what I was hoping I could do is help some of the other folks who might be struggling with it and see if they can come up with that. But you guys, I think you guys have a pretty good handle on that type of stuff. So if you got a few moments while I go through it, so that way anybody's watching it live or watching it later, they can see it there too. Would that be all right with you guys? If I do
Sure.
that? Okay. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. So that's always the fun part.
We will.
Of course. You can always correct me if I'm wrong. All right. So basically, I've been doing, for those of you who might be watching this video later on, I've been doing something, it's called the photo assignment challenge and stuff like that. So if you guys are interested in joining this and doing stuff like that, we got a couple of submissions as far as it goes. I got an email from Daniela. I know Kevin and Glidden posted some stuff. I know a few people were also interested in it as well too. If you like joining us, I'll be doing another one in December, and then I'll be going to do another one in January as well too. So there'll be that coming up. December, I'm thinking about just as a holiday light thing, self-assignment, but that seems to be a fairly common one for most people to talk about as far as that goes. Now, when we're talking about black and white photography, especially with digital cameras, one of the things, at least for me, and I think Kevin, you grew up with black and white photography,
Yes.
and Glidden as well too. So the idea is, black and white photography is not, if you've been doing it for a while, it's pretty straightforward. It's not that hard to do, but if you're used to shooting in color all the time, and then you haven't really thought about it, you got to remember that black and white, it's not just taking the saturation level all the way down to zero. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not. You want to be able to basically, look at the values and the hues and stuff like that. Remember, because you get a change from tone from dark to light, and then there's change in hue, not tone, and that can affect overall the way the blacks and the whites appear on some of this stuff. Now, the rule with black and white actually relies heavily on color. Color allows things to basically show up even more so in some of the black and white. So blue skies or green grass or sunsets or the color red or color blue, depending upon the tone or the value for it, not necessarily the hue, you get some really striking examples of that. So it's important to have some sort of correlation or understanding that if you want to add more yellow, and yellow is your primary tool, then the yellow will be a little bit lighter than the blue. The blue will be the opposite one, be more black. Magenta is green, red is cyan. So what I mean by all this stuff is again, most of you probably remember these little control panels from back in the day with Kodak and stuff. If you were to use a red filter, and if you've been using Photoshop, you might understand that there's a red filter that you can apply to your black and white photos. The red filter, what it's doing, of course, is converting all the reds to a lighter tone and the cyan to a darker tone. So the reds become lighter and the blues get darker. So you'd use a red filter if you wanted to make your blue skies darker, if you want to do that. If you're going to be shooting again, when changing it to like a green filter, again, greens are going to be lighter, and then the opposite of green is going to be magenta. So if you want to make your grass greener, grass lighter, the opposite's going to be happening is your magenta is going to get darker and darker as well too. Because remember, these are all complementary colors of these things. Again, blue is the same thing. Again, blue, we do that, and of course, the opposite of that is, of course, yellow. So when you're shooting things like this, which is a fairly simple little flower right here, no filter. Then you put a little filter on top of it with, shoot black and white, take the saturation down to 0. And then if you go in Photoshop and add a red filter for the addition to that, you can actually make that red really pop out. And of course, if you go green, the greens are going to get whiter. Of course, the flowers going to get darker. And then, of course, there's orange. The beauty of it with Photoshop and Lightroom. I know that was fun. Well, at least fun for me anyway. Hopefully you guys weren't too flabbergasted with those yahoos. So, all right. Okay, where was I? Okay, so anyway, so we're talking about black and white stuff like that. So like here, again, this is again, if I convert this to black and white, again, I get a little bit more dynamic range. Again, you can see if it's red and it's dark, I have to basically throw a different color filter, and the opposite of red was what? Green. So the idea is that makes the reds darker and the greens lighter as far as that goes. Now, what I like to do is when I'm shooting in black and white, I usually tell my camera to be in black and white. Not all the time, mind you, but I like to shoot it in black and white. So when I'm doing that, I can actually see what I'm looking at as a preview of what I want to do. Different cameras have different versions of calling it like this stuff. But I know for me, I got picture style, I got custom portraits, a custom monochrome for Olympus, monochrome for Nikon and stuff like that, but black and white for the Sony guys. But the idea is I can modify that and then shoot it completely in there. Now, what I usually do is I shoot both the color and the black and white together. So I have like a JPEG and a RAW file when I do that stuff. But the issue is if you want to shoot black and white and you get the RAW file, everything looks like it should be like in black and white, like the JPEG and the RAW. However, the problem is that when you actually open it up and you take a look at it, it's actually, when you go to the RAW file, you won't have that black and white data. You only have the color data. So when you're shooting in RAW, the color information is still there, but the RAW data, but you're not going to see the black and white data, at least not right away. Now, keep in mind, it all depends on different cameras, different settings, but for me, I like to use the black and white JPEG, the JPEG as a black and white reference tool for that type of stuff. So when I'm dealing with software and stuff like that, I'm working in software like Lightroom and stuff like that, then I'll take my pictures and I can post-process the black and white. Now, keep in mind, I can make some changes in there if I want to, make it a little bit different, adjust some of the settings off to the side there, right up in here. So you can see right here, there's a couple of settings right there where I can adjust the mix of all the color temperatures in there. Yep, wrong button. So after, again, after I played around with some of the color, this is what it looks like before, with all the color that I changed in that when I was moving it around, tweaking just a little bit of the tonal range on there. But now when I click it back to black and white, now I've got all my sliders where they were back from where before. Now I can make my adjustments and I can do a gradation of it and play around with it to highlight the changes if I want to do that. Of course, you also got filters as well to make these changes as well. But the key thing to remember when you're playing around, when you're changing your color to black and white, is what do you want to see in your black and white pictures? Typically, blue skies tend to look a little bit nicer if they're darker or blacker. Not always, but generally. So you get a much more effective look in your pictures. So when I switch this to just a straight black and white, there you go, there we go. Then it becomes a little bit more dynamic in the range. Doesn't mean they always have to be like that. They could certainly be a little bit lighter. Everyone's going to have their own little subjective opinion about the whole entire thing. Again, there's a variety of ways you can look at your colors and make your changes to see which ones look good, which ones not so good. So again, for instance, this was done in post-production. When I shot this, though, I knew I was going to be doing it in black and white because there's a lot of gradation in the tones there. There's a big white spot for the moon, but the sky is also kind of a bright blue. But however, if I throw that again in in Photoshop and I make it black and white and add a red filter to it, I can really make that sky sing. There's different programs out there. There's Silver Effects or the Nick collection there, where you can make your adjustments accordingly. Again, you can adjust it right there by changing the filters right here. Again, they give you the color filters there. They give you an orange, a yellow, green, and a blue. And I think this is an older version of Nick. And the idea is you can make your, again, I think it's a little bit more of a slightly better setup. I think this is the one version I have is from when Google had it, I think. Before DX bought it out. But again, you can see the results from just playing around with it, how much the dynamic changes by switching around the overall color of filters for these types of stuff. The other thing too with black and white is the thing I like about it is that it helps remove any kind of color distraction that might be in there that might have hidden the process. So when I convert this Milky Way shot to black and white, it gives it another dynamic range to the whole entire thing. So here we go again. I just converted this landscape into, again, black and white. Again, pretty much the same thing. And all I'm doing right here is just tweaking around some colors and sharpness and details to make things a little bit nicer and a little bit more unique as far as that goes. Now, these are ones I shot in black and white, and these are the JPEG results from all that stuff right there. So these were shot in black and white directly and playing around with these types of things. Now, this was actually a stitched photo where I basically stitched both of these pieces together, that type of stuff. So when it comes to black and white stuff, the main thing, at least I like for, at least hopefully everyone got, is that when you're shooting with the black and whites, again, these are mainly for the people who this is their first time shooting in black and white, and you've just like shot it normally, just put the black and white on without any changes to it, and you're wondering why your dynamic range or your color, your black and white doesn't look as sexy as maybe somebody else's. This is how they do that. They make these changes either in post or they're fiddling around with it. Some of your camera settings, when you switch to black and white, you can add red filters, yellow filters, green filters, and you can see these changes happen in there. And there's even a modification for infrared film, which is a whole other thing, but you get some really interesting results with that type of stuff. So when you're shooting with black and white, what I always recommend, again, just you gotta have a little bit of sense of play, but remember, color has an important part to black and white because it's going to affect the final outcome of your particular picture. With all that said and done, anybody else have any questions about that? Nope. All right. All right, cool beans. All right, now let's take a look for everyone's here. It's going to go look at the reviews of all the pictures. I'm going to jump onto Meetup and take a look at that. Let's see. Photos, there we go. All right, oops. Might be helpful if I actually share my screen. That might be nice. Where's that? There we go. You guys should be able to see the screen now. All right, let's take a look at some of the pictures here. Okay, this is you, Kevin.
That's right.
Cool beans. Now this is one of the recent ones you shot.
I took this one. Yeah, I took this about a month ago. I took it in September on my main trip. And I was in a skiff at the Wooden Boat School, which is about 3 miles from where we stay. So I'm very close to the boat with a wide angle lens because I wanted the background and so I'm probably only a couple of feet away from the boat. And it was a foggy morning and very still.
Yeah.
So my workflow was I always shoot in normal standard color.
Right.
And because anything short of not using a monochrome sensor is going to be processed anyway. I mean,
right,
the JPEG
exactly.
is processed to be a black and white. So there was a fellow I met who had a Leica monochrome camera. It was gorgeous.
Oh, sure.
Some beautiful tonality in that. So no Bayer filter over the sensor. but so I shot in color. And then my other project was to shoot fog effectively. And it is very difficult to make it. You either get rid of the fog when you process, or it looks like all fog and there's nothing there. So
Right.
it's very hard to strike a balance with a subject and fog. So one of the things is to get the foreground darker and then the fog lighter. That's kind of a trick. Um, so this is pretty close to, well, it's not out of camera, it's color. It's in Silver FX. And then I did some large global changes in Photoshop to contrast. And then I did some dodging and burning. So for instance, the railing on the boat, the black rail, I burned it. So a lot of attention to the lights and the darks and the foregrounds. And then just getting enough of the pine trees and the fog behind. So I'm very proud of it. This was the best shot I took this summer, I think, by
Well,
my lights.
no, I really like this, especially because, like you said, shooting with fog, it's really kind of, hard to get the pictures the way you want them to look, because there's not a lot of contrast, which you got to deal. I mean, the boat's got some significant contrast to it, especially with the reflection, but that's about it, because I'm assuming the boat is really close to you, so it's a little bit more easy to read.
Yeah,
But when you
exactly. As I said, I'm probably 3 feet away from the boat because I'm shooting it, I don't know, 28 millimeters, something like that. So it's real. And that's the other thing is I found out you can't take these shots from the shore. You have to get really close to your subject and then have it
right,
surrounded by the fog. Once the
yeah,
subject's in the fog, you're dead. So, so
but no, I really like this, and again, a lot of my black and white stuff myself tends to be a little bit more for the stark contrast and stuff like that. But that's from my good old days in black and white and stuff, like playing around with that. But there's something to be said of course, with the soft, dreamy black and white stuff, and I just love black and white pictures because they have a certain aesthetic quality to the whole thing. And it's just really, really, really cool. I like it a
You
lot.
should you should print it and hang it on your wall.
well, I haven't. I'm going to get about 10 of these from the trip together,
Right.
and I will print them. I think at some point. I think it's important to do that, but I'm not. We've been really busy since we got back, but I think you're absolutely right about printing photos. It should be done. I think what's good, Donna, is that there's enough sharpness in the foreground. There's a lot of especially in the water, there's a lot of contrast. So
Right.
if the whole thing were dreamy, you tend to just walk by it, like what's going on here. So there's
Right.
enough interest down in that bottom third to engage you, I think. But I've got some other stuff that's different. They're all not like that. So
Right. But like I said, I really love, especially the reflection. It's a nice balance between these two. It's a nice effect. It's a nice calming, effect. It's really cool. I like it a lot. I think that's a bangerang photo for the whole thing. That's awesome. Which brings me to this guy, which is completely the opposite of that.
I don't know. That's some kind of mushroom, and there's a park on Deer Isle, and it was in the walk, the
Right.
path and it was in direct sun. So I'm now carrying a small diffuser and a small reflector in my camera bag, like a 9-inch diameter. So I diffused the light, and then I reflected it from the left of the portrait, where you can see the light, the source of the light is. And I think by doing that, I got a lot of detail. Like it almost looks like hair on the mushroom, that
Mhm.
fibrillary nature on the edge. But this one was very controlled lighting. This wasn't just bending over and taking the picture.
So are you So you're kind of like zooming in and holding the diffuser over the light source?
So so I'm using a macro lens, so I'm hand holding
Okay.
macro, and then I'm holding the one diffuser with my one hand. I've got the camera and I'm trying with my fingers, I'm bouncing the other sunlight onto the left of the mush. It takes a while. But
I'm just trying to picture in my
I
head
have
what
nothing
you're
but
doing. I'm trying to, because it's like a juggle. It's telling me it sounds like a juggling act, what you're trying to do between the diffuser and the
yeah,
camera.
it takes a lot. And if you were really, you would bring a little, you'd bring a small tripod or light stand,
Right.
clip the other one on, and it would be a lot easier.
Right.
And then to
Actually,
handle,
Kevin,
ahead, sorry.
I saw a Spanish photographer that specializes in this type of photography, and he uses those flexible fiberglass sticks to either hold the diffuser or the reflector, and then with one hand he will operate the camera, and with the other one he will operate either the diffuser or the reflector.
Like a selfie stick.
Almost,
Just
almost,
having
but those
a little boom. Yeah, that's a
actually
good idea.
he
That's a
had
great
he
idea.
had the sticks that he showed reminded me, if you go to a golf ranch or something like that, they have some fiberglass sticks that you use to stick on the ground and fix your swing plane and so on. They looked like that. The difference was his were like this short.
Yeah.
So he was laying on the ground and so on, and he had, like I said, on the picture I saw, I think he had the diffuser on those sticks, and then with the other hand he had the reflector, so he can operate the remote release for the camera.
Well, that's a great idea because, a lot of times I like to take a lot of handheld macro shots of flowers and gardens and things. And they really don't want you traipsing around with a lot of gear. So, and you're always on top of these anyway. I mean, if you're going to have the reflector, it's 3 inches away. I mean, so it makes perfect sense to have something small you could stick in the ground and then get out of there before the staff yells at you. So, I was
That's
going to
pretty
say,
cool.
Dono, what I always thought this was impossible to do, handheld macro, and on some of the field
Right.
trips I've seen other members have been doing it. And what I found is just I just push the ISO and I push the shutter speed. And
Yeah.
if I'm shooting at 1/1000th or something, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Because I've got a little tremor and stuff, and I find that even if I've pushed like ISO 1600, I think that's probably what this is, either ISO 800 or 1600,
Right.
and they don't look bad
No,
to my eye.
well, and then that's the thing with all the newer stuff that's coming out. I forget which one you have. You got the R, you got the Canon, right? Is that right, Kevin?
No, I've still got the Nikon D610.
The 610. So even then, that's still a great camera. Even with the higher ISO settings, it was really, with my 610, I don't really remember that being a significant. Now, of course, if you went into the extended ranges, that'd be different. But
Yeah,
for the most part, I really enjoyed playing with that particular system. I
Yeah.
thought it worked out really, really well.
yeah.
And but I love the stark contrast. I love the big blacks around this right here. You can see the depth of field again is really soft, but your eye just sticks right here, which
Yeah.
is I'm assuming that's what you kind of liked about the
Yeah.
whole thing.
And there's no way I'm going to stack this thing. Although some of the Olympus cameras and stuff now, I understand, will do handheld stacking,
Yeah, yeah,
but which I guess to a certain point could be a very handy thing to have.
yeah, exactly.
And Dono, here's one where color would add nothing, I think. I mean, first of all, I think it was like a gray mushroom. But
Right.
even if it wasn't color, I think the structure here stands out because there isn't any color. So,
Yeah, that's why, it's like saying, sometimes it's best to sometimes take a look at the pictures as black and white and see what the tonal ranges are. And then maybe you can adjust those things. Sometimes I'll go like in Photoshop and adjust the luminosity just to see what it looks like before I keep working in color and stuff like that
Yeah.
too. Let me see what this is also this is Kevin again. Yep. Here we go.
Yeah, this is
That
from
looks pretty
this
cool.
is from 4 years ago, and that's the West Quaddy Light in Lubec, Maine. That's right on the Canadian border. That's the easternmost lighthouse in the United States. And again, a real geometry picture.
Yeah,
And again, I think the color would have distracted from the structure. The cylinder and the pyramids and the rectangles. And that's just a wide angle lens pointing up close to the base of the lighthouse is all.
right. Well, I really, again, looking at the sky right there, because this was a clear sky or like this
It
type of
was.
thing?
It was a clear sky.
And it was this,
I had to work a lot on the sky because I put a polarizer filter
okay,
and I ruined the sky. It looked like it was bright white down on the right and deep violet up. I've stopped using the polarizing filter for
right.
if I need it, I do it in Photoshop. I just don't get it right. So, but that's
Right.
pretty much the sky, and it's got to be light against the dark structures of the buildings.
Actually, if you would have used the polarizer, probably had caught down on the glare on that edge of the lighthouse on the brick, and I love it the way it kind of, you're almost
Exactly.
blowing the
I
highlights
love
on the
the glare.
dark on the
Yeah.
dark lines.
Yeah. No, you're right. I've never had a shot yet where I said, man, I really saved this with the polarizer filter. So I tend to look at it, and if there's glare, I'm also getting more comfortable shooting into the light and living with glare and flare and a little drama. It doesn't frighten me anymore. So I think you're right. It's a good thing to have that there.
Well, if I remember correctly, most of the lighthouses, and it was that like a red stripe with the white,
It's red and white.
right? Yeah, that's really cool. And I love again, I love the detail that you're able to, recover right along there, especially in the highlights and stuff like that. That's really nice. Again, like I said,
What I did, Dono, I was very careful about the, whatever you want to call it, the 10-point system. What's it? I'm blocking on everything.
That's okay.
Shooting Yosemite. Help me out here, people.
Well, you talk about the zone system.
The zone system. Thank you. So I never wanted pure white or pure black in it. So even some of those areas off to the lower right, I wanted some structure in the black, and I didn't want to completely blow out the whites in it either. So I spent a while in Silver FX focally adjusting the tonality.
So, how do you feel about the zone system overall?
Are you talking to me, Dono?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just think it's a guide. I don't follow it to this degree and mark out that's 7, that's 4, but I try to have everything look like a photograph and not have a completely black silhouette nor a completely blown out white. And then I try to eyeball what's in between those things to a rough degree. Now in Silver FX, in your viewer, you can put your cursor and see where you are in the zone system. And it'll tell you that's a 7, that's a 4. I do that more by eye and what aesthetically looks good to me, but I try to make sure I've not completely lost the blacks in these photos, for instance.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the zone system basically it was developed. I forget when it was developed. It was a while ago. Ansel Adams kind of pushed it forward, I think, with the further development. But it was basically it's a systematic way to define the relationship between the way you visualize the picture and the final result, especially with black and white, so you can get a much more, not even, but at least you get all the information in the picture. That was the main goal. So you don't necessarily lose all the data in the shadow details or in the highlights. It doesn't mean you lose, you don't get everything, but it was able for you to kind of like systematically approach it and to hit it and try to figure out what you want to do. You know, pure black was like no detail. Pure white was, of course, no detail. Think of it as like the histogram, you know, for most of you out there. So if you're using a histogram, it's kind of like looking at a histogram, but, you know, mapping out all the tonal variations and stuff. But it's a really kind of a cool technique, especially when you apply it with black and white. I think that's if I remember it correctly. Did I remember that right?
Yeah, I know Ansel Adams is involved. I think he's got a book on it.
Yeah, he does. He's got a huge book on that whole thing. Well, not huge. I mean, it's not a coffee table book, but it's certainly pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Okay, we got it with the Glidden now. All right, Glidden. So where is this one at? I didn't see the notes yet. We lost Glidden. Glidden's gone.
I'm sorry, I'm here. That's Giverny. That's the famous lily ponds that were immortalized by Monet. So this one,
okay.
I'm remember, I'm a newbie on black and white. So this one I play with the tonal sliders in Lightroom. So I was able to darken some colors, lighten some other colors. And to my surprise, that little bridge that you see in the back that everybody shoots and so on, it is that railing, it is bright green, but I could only get it brighter if I play with the aqua slider.
Yeah, you know, because you start thinking, well, that looks green, but then if you start, you know, well, the green's not doing anything, then you have to go to the other variations of the hues.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, like I said, you know, it was like I said, you know, if you now if you go into Photoshop and you go to black and white, you know, adjustments, one of the things you could do is also choose filters, and you can choose a black and white filter for all of that stuff too, and it gives you that same effect that if I were shooting that in black and white or playing in the dark room, it gives all these good similar effect anyway.
Yeah, this was early in the morning. The sun was starting to burn the fog that we had in the morning. Right. And I was shooting, you know, against the clock, basically, trying to get it before it was harsh, you know, light and so on.
Right. I didn't realize that there was a guy in the picture over there.
Yeah. By the time I got there were like maybe 10 people walking around.
Right.
And by the time I finished taking pictures and so on, there was, you know, hundreds of people walking around. Not as bad as pre-pandemic travel, but it was a lot more people. So I can only imagine in spring when the lilies bloom, how crowded that will be.
What you should do is put a little easel back there. You can say that's the ghost of nature. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that one. And again, you know, this, you know, you got, when you shoot black and white, one of the things you got to pay attention to is, you know, of course, you know, if you're gonna have an overcast day or a foggy day or something like that, you know, you're not gonna get a lot of contrast, and you just work with what you got. That's all you can do. I mean, you know, it's like shooting the Milky Way. You know, if there's a day when you don't we got a bunch of clouds, ain't gonna change. Now, this is still on your trip, right?
Yes, that is one of the chandeliers in the mirror hall or something like that is called in Versailles. Yeah. I picked this one because the contrast, I liked it a lot better. I have another picture in color, granted, of another chandelier that has like on the edge of the glass a blue tone that in color it looks fantastic. I tried to turn it into black and white and it didn't convey the contrast I was looking for. But actually, I gotta say, I was telling my wife a little bit earlier, she has a picture of one of these chandeliers, just the orb in the middle with her phone, and it looks absolutely mind-blowing. And at the time, she didn't show it to me, so I couldn't zoom in or do something like that and replicate the picture. But yeah, these things are, I don't know, gorgeous to me. They're works of art.
Yeah, Glenn, do you mind if I make some comments? Because I comment about everything to everybody.
Go ahead. Like I said, I'm
I think
learning here.
I think it's a really great shot. I really love it. Is this 4x5 format? that you're
Actually,
in
I
there?
think I cropped it around 4x5. If I were to have the full image, it will be, I shoot on an R5, so it's a 40 something megapixel image. So
So you're
I
like
think I
3 by
cropped it
2,
that
yeah.
way because since like you were saying, I'm handheld, standing, looking up.
Right.
So my angles are not necessarily all correct.
No, but but the image is 4x5. It really
Yes,
feels like a square image to me, and I shoot
that's
almost
correct.
I print almost everything 4x5, but this feels because of the circle, and
Mhm.
I don't I think it might almost have, just like your wife's picture. I think it may have more punch if you're in closer. I mean, there's a lot of interesting detail in the corners, but if your subject is that chandelier, I'd really get in there at it. Now, I think this is a great shot, but it's something I think about just looking at it. That central orb right in the middle of the photo, and then you're looking at all that crystal, and then there's not much else there. It's a
Yeah.
thought. I mean, you can say, no, I didn't want to do that.
No, Kevin. I worked a different image, kind of more landscape orientation, and it looked in color, of course, and it looked a lot better than this one. This one I liked it because you have that dark or kind of rich mid-tone background, and then the chandelier kind of
Okay.
stood up in the highlights. But yeah, I
No,
haven't, like I
it's
said,
your aesthetic judgment. So yeah, no, absolutely. But it's a great, I think
I
it's a
need
great
to
shot. I
play
love it.
more and more and more with those pictures and see what I can extract from them.
Sorry, guys, I'm sorry. The Zoom sent me a message here, so I'm just taking care of that real quick.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, kind of. I agree with Kevin about some of the thing, but like you said, Evelyn, there's not much you could do because you're looking up, you're doing that and everything else. But the part that I really like about this whole entire thing is the detail that you got in the up in here, which I think looks really cool. I mean, I know this is the meetup on the screen, so but it's I really love the amount of detail you got in all this stuff. I think that's pretty cool, especially it's because it's not blown out. It's pulled into, it's nice. I think it worked out really, really, really well. And for me, I either shoot 2 to 3. Well, I got the Olympus, which shoots 4 to 5, but I'm either going to make it a 2 to 3 aspect ratio as a rule, or as a 1x1 aspect ratio, because it is what it is. There's not much you can do about, because otherwise it just bleeds off the page, or you vignette the crap out of it just to make it a little, so it brings your eyeball right to that. But I
Yeah,
love that.
but I think Donna, what Kevin is saying, if I can isolate the orb and maybe just the crystal, the first layer of crystal around it, I might have something total different,
There's something like about that kind of thing.
there, kind of there,
Yeah.
As long as you find the place where it falls off okay to crop,
Right.
because these are almost continuous. But hey, if your wife got it with the iPhone, you've got a Sony R4 or something. I mean, I'm sure you got plenty of pixels.
I'm telling you, my wife's image is absolutely fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, but she showed it to me after we left the palace. So it was like, oh,
Yeah.
I should have done that shot.
Yeah. Someone told me, after you've taken the photograph, always look for the detail shots. So you shoot a house, then go back and shoot the doorway and something else, and make sure you got everything you were looking at there if it struck you.
Yeah. But yeah, that's now did you play with the sliders a bit? I didn't hear that part when I was
Not on
watching.
this one. Not on this one. This one was kind of more playing with the contrast more than anything.
Oh, this is
Oh,
nice.
that's nice.
Yeah, and this is from another assignment like 2 years ago, right, Dono? That
Was
was
this the one
shooting
about
the
the-
dark or something like that.
Yeah, the shadows and light.
Yeah, that one. Yes. Actually, it's funny because I'm not a black and white kind of a guy, but I like this version better than the color version that I have.
Well, again, when you're looking at something, because with as people, we always see well, most of us see in color for the most part, and we're always overwhelmed by the kind of color detail, so that might change because we're looking at maybe like the blues or the reds because the warm colors push forward, the cool colors push back, but when you make it black and white, it gives it this whole entire new appeal to it. And when you reduce it just to these blacks and whites and grays, it really can sometimes, highlight, especially if this is a different color that on this thing right here, it's just really, really cool. And then when it's put up against this grain of this wood, it just basically, exemplifies all these curves and stuff too. So it works really well.
Yeah,
So I like
the ovals and the circles are fabulous. I love these geometric type shots, and then the light on the glass is perfect. So now, how did you like this?
I use I think it was a flashlight, an LED flashlight. And I told the story to Dono, but I had to lock myself up in my garage, and it was, I think, in the summer, right, Dono? And it was really, really hot. So it was kind of, let me take many pictures really, really quickly and get the hell out of here because I was sweating bullets. And I think I had my camera on the remote trigger, and all I did was kind of, look at the light and how the shadow played with it and so on, and how the liquid inside the martini glass made it look. You cannot see it on this picture in the color one. You can see the liquid, but or at least the glare on the liquid. But if you look at the reflection, you could see different rings, and where the rings turns more like a darker mid-tone, that's the liquid that is letting light through. So
Yeah.
it was just a plain flashlight.
It's
And
a
at that time I didn't even have loom cubes to help me with it.
It's a real testament to what you can do with household objects and household lighting. But if you want to avoid spending next summer in the garage at 95 degrees, if you use the speed light, you can underexpose it and shoot it anywhere and not have to go into the dark room to do it. And it's not that complicated, but I'll tell you, I don't think you could have done a better job than this with any other equipment. I think it's a beautiful shot.
Thank you.
This kind of reminded me there. Let's see if I can find it real quick of a photo that not the subject matter, but it was I think this is it. Okay, oops, you gotta spell his name right. See if I can find it. This is it. See if I can get this.
And now, Kevin, that you mentioned it, I have never sent this picture to the friends that gave this glasses to us as a wedding gift. I should send it to them.
Absolutely. You could print if you owe them a gift, you could print this and frame it.
Something, where is it coming up? Oh, here we go. I think this is, you guys should see it. This is there's a photographer, his name is Sam Abel. So when we talk about something that's just simple, right? Like you used to do with it's about how this is basically him shooting through a curtain with just these pairs in the windowsill. Nothing, if you were to take each of these things one by one separately, you probably wouldn't have noticed anything. But since he's looking at this and he's working with the composition and playing around with the parrot. It's just, it's amazing what you can do. And he was published this got published several times, and he was there on an assignment, he was telling me, for national. He said in the not me personally, but the lecture I went to hear him talking, he says he was just there on an assignment, and they happened to have pears in a bowl in the room, and every time he'd go out of the room, he put a pear in the windowsill to take a picture. So every day he was there was more pears. He could put him in the windowsill. And you just never know. Sometimes it's just these little things that really strike your fancy and stuff. But yeah, real cool stuff on that, especially with this Glenn. That's really nice.
Thank you.
Let's see what's next, Mr. Glidden. I think again. Oh, this looks like this is the Pantheon.
That's right. You know where it is.
Yeah, I've been there.
And to tell the truth, this image in color, it looks good, but it doesn't look as good as this one in black and white. Even though it's more in the mid-tone of colors and so on. Once I decided to make a black and white copy of it, I liked it a lot better. The definition on the lines is a lot better. I don't know, I liked it better. And this is, I think it was shooting at 16 mils handheld, and I had to stay as still as possible so I could shoot for the interior and then another shot. So the oculus, it was not completely overblown when I was in color. And that was quite difficult. That's why you could see on the top right and the top left, like the top of two columns, because I'm leaning against one of them to be able to stay put. If you guys have been to the Pantheon, you know that is no tripod, no monopods, no nothing. And now, after COVID, you got to make a humongous line to get in. Now, the first time, my wife and I visited, we just walked in, stroll around, took pictures and so on. Nowadays, you got to do a humongous line. We were lucky enough that we were supposed to have a guided tour, that the person never showed up, and we bypassed the line. But if not, I think I would have given up and never gone in. So that long was the line. And again, in there now, they're very, very strict on, you cannot make too much noise, you cannot move around too quickly. They have taken really seriously that this is a church nowadays. So, it's quite difficult to shoot in there.
Yeah, I remember when we were there, and this is like back in the 90s, and I was able to set my camera in the middle of the floor and shoot it. They had a wide angle lens and just shooting straight up. And
yep. Actually, the whole center Dono now is cordoned off.
Oh, is it?
Yes. You kind of walk around and so on, but if you wanted to be in the center of the room and shoot straight up, you cannot do it anymore.
That's too bad.
I know. I'm telling you, I was surprised. It's like, what the hell is going on
here? Yeah. Well, there you go. At least you got straight up here.
And this is at the Vatican Museum. This is one of those bucket list shots that you have in your mind. My bucket list was from the top down, but when I looked at it, even in color, it looks good. But you have seen better, pictures of the place. But when I went downstairs and shoot up, actually in colors, everything that is not dark metal color, the darker color, is a glowing yellow color, really, really nice. And I was able to do an HDR image and you could see all the details of the glass on the top, reflecting the light and so on. So I really, really like this picture.
Glidden, can I make a comment on this one?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Are you trying to disturb me with this photo?
How come?
Because it is such a symmetric spiral vortex, and the center of it is like leaning 10 degrees. Now, I almost want to reach out and twist it into being straight. Was it because of the cropping? You didn't want to lose the edge?
No. It's because I'm not really in the center of the room.
But you
There
don't
is
have
there is
to
a
be. Just
there is a
turn it.
statute there.
So you're in the real Veritas school, like my wife, who refuses to change anything that wasn't
Actually,
present when the shutter was snapped.
no. Dono and I joke about it. I get criticized because I have no qualms in replacing skies if it makes it look a lot better, the image. So, but no, you're right. Probably I
Rotate,
can
you know,
go.
the rotate 8 degrees.
No, actually, you know what, Kevin? I think it will be even better if I change the chroma aspect ratio. If I the trapezoid, if I change it a little bit, it will look completely straight. I like that.
Okay, so yeah, so because this is what focal length are you at here?
I believe I don't know. I'll have to check my settings, but
Are
I
you real wide
think I
open?
was
Wide?
yeah, close to 16 degrees and so on.
Right.
Yeah.
So one way is
I
to
mean
do
16 millimeters.
Yeah, so one way is whichever you want to do, way you want to do it, either transform it, or I think you could just rotate it, but you could transform it and then straighten out if you're worried about the one curve against the other on the right versus the left. I wasn't even thinking of doing that, but sure, you could do that as well.
Actually, I like the curves going out of the picture, creating that
yeah, I do
tension into
too.
it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'll transform it and change the geometry of it a little bit and see if it looks straighter. So,
Yeah, but
and
you see
again,
what I'm saying? I'm just disturbed that that top line of the octagon is not horizontal,
oh, I see. Yeah,
that it's tilted. I think
yeah.
with this kind of a circular and octagon shot, it should be looking dead perp 90 degrees, 0 degrees kind of thing. That's all I was concerned about.
No,
I think
that's
the
actually
arms, yeah, the
that's very
arms of the
simple.
helix look good.
Then I like it the way it is.
I'm telling you, Dono, this one is it. You guys are going to be printed it because I wanted like 40 by 60, something like that.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's a lovely shot. I like that one a lot.
How do I show the other two that I have, Dono?
I can share the screen with you if you want to do that.
Okay, sure.
Let's see, where is me? Let me get out of this right here. Where am I at? Camera here. Share. I want to stop sharing. How do I stop sharing again? You don't do Zoom meetings for one. There it is. You don't do Zoom meetings for a month and you forget what all the buttons do, All right, give me 1 second, Glenn.
Sure.
Co-host. There you go. There you go. You should be able to share now.
Okay, let me
Yeah,
over here.
I ended up taking off last month for not doing any Zoom meetings, mainly because I was with my kid and we went on a little trip on vacation, and that was a lot of fun.
Okay. You should be seeing my screen right now, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna do this one first because I know that it's close to your heart. This view, I believe, was my brother-in-law who took it first, and I liked it so much that I said I'm gonna steal it from you. And the reason I turn it black and white is because the sky had no definition whatsoever. It was completely blue, living blue sky, not a cloud, no nothing. It was already past sunrise and so on, so the light was becoming really harsh. But I like how the trees frame the curve of the building and so on. And because of course the building has so many contrasty colors between the limestone against the rough spots and so on. So I think it lended very well to be a black and white picture.
Yeah, I think you got it. Even with the tree over there to the top left, it's a nice little framing device because you got it reciprocated from the other side right there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you got the historical significance of the Colosseum there, that's that look. I love that view. Where was this at? Was this, you said your brother shot this originally? Or?
Yeah, actually, when the main entrance to the Coliseum, right? If
Right.
you cross the avenue and go up some stairs that are over there, there are a couple of cafes, and I don't know if it was because it was post-pandemic that most of our guided tours were kind of close to be a cluster. You know what? This one we had to go and wait on those cafes for the people to show up and bring us the tickets.
Okay.
So you can imagine calling a Italy number from a US phone, and they want to get back in touch with you and coordinate and so on. And you have a 10 a.m. Reservation to go into the Coliseum, and
Right.
and it's like 9:15 already and so on. But they finally showed up and they took care of us and so on. But we had a lot of time sitting at the cafe looking over at the Coliseum. And my brother-in-law kind of walked away for a little while, came back with the phone and said, "Oh, look at this picture." I said, "Oh, I'm going to steal it from you, so I'm going to go over there and take it with my camera."
Wow. That's pretty cool. Again, I like that a lot. That's a nice one. Again, you might, because people, if you shot it in color, I don't think, well, not you shot it in color. I mean, if you had it presented in color, I don't think it would have been as
It looks,
dynamic.
believe me, it looks good in color. It has
No, black and
very,
white.
very warm colors over here, but in black and white, I don't know. To me, it takes you back to the black and white era when people travel and took kind of snapshots around,
Yeah.
and so on.
Glenn, it's Roman holiday. Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck. They could, what's his name? Eddie Arnold could have taken that photograph.
It's like well, I had the luck to one of my grandfather's friend travel all over the world, and he will send back. Remember when they printed those pictures and they kind of made waves in the corners and so on the edge of the picture? And I think the room that ended up being my room had a dresser with a glass on top of it and pictures from that guy from around the world. And I could picture, things like this from Rome. And I believe I had a bunch of pictures of Greece and the Parthenon and so on, stuck to the glass. They were always there forever. And I think when my mom decided, like, oh, your room has been taken away, I'm gonna, change all this, the pictures were ruined because they were stuck to that glass for, I don't know, maybe 30 years.
Wow.
But it reminded me of the pictures he used to send back to the family as he traveled around the world. And the next picture I wanted to show was this one. This one,
Very nice.
again, a Perry type of day, rainy, with a lot of clouds and so on. And what do you do on a day like that? Like, if I show you this picture in color, you go like, the Eiffel Tower, whatever. When I went to Paris the first time, it was blue skies, and the tower looked a lot better against that blue sky. But here, with all those clouds and the rain and so on, I thought that it landed really, really good for black and white. And I picked this one because it's a weird kind of angle to shoot the tower. Also, it did away with all the construction that is happening on the lower right corner. I have another picture right below the tower where you have all the scaffolding and so on going up. And it's kind of interesting, but not as interesting as this one. Actually, I have another version of this picture that is a vertical panorama. And Lightroom had all kind of troubles trying to stitch it together. And then, you could see the angles all bent, like bowed away and so on. Regardless, whatever, you use to stitch it, perspective, cylindrical or whatever. but I like this one better because of the whiteness, of the highlights here around the top of the tower, and then the dark clouds on the sides.
There's great separation of the image, and both this one and the Colosseum, they both have repeating elements. The Colosseum has the arcades of the classical orders.
That's right.
This has all the repetition of the fretwork. And whenever I see something like that, I always think of black and white, because I think the color just distracts from the geometry of the image.
Yep.
So when
You're right.
I think you almost luxuriate in that ironwork. So I almost can't imagine it being color, although I'm sure it'd be color and be on some magazine or something, be fine. But to me, that's like a quintessential black and white image.
Yeah, I really liked it. I saw it and I told my wife, well, this will work really well in black and white.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, it was a wet, very wet day that day in Paris. So luckily the rest of the time we had great weather. So and it's funny because I believe the day before this one or the day after, we went to Mount Saint Michel, that you see all those idyllic pictures and so on. The sky was even worse than this one. It was all white, nothing, no blue, no nothing. So many of the pictures I have been editing now had some, creative liberties on my part to make it look better.
Lemonade.
I was just going to say to Glidden, if you do the Silver FX plugin, and I have the same one, I have the version 2 from when it was free, which is all you need. But if you look at some of their presets that are high structure, you would be surprised what kind of a detail you can pull out of the sky. Now that may be considered cheating because it never looks that way, but you can make any sky look turbulent and stormy. So if you want to go that way, you can get more texture out of the clouds than you're getting in something like this straight out of camera.
And by the way, guys, now that I'm showing this picture, on this trip I met a photographer, and I can share the name later. He's called Richard Silver or something like that. He's selling a book called Vertical Churches of the World. Very, very unique, very particular way. I'm obsessed with, ceilings. I shoot all the ceilings I can see, churches, you saw the Pantheon and so on. But the way he did it, because he got access to be able to be on an empty church with a tripod. And imagine looking, you're in the center of the church, looking from the altar to the back on one single image. So they're really, really interesting pictures. And I think he shot over 100 and something churches around the world. So I don't know, take a look. They have it on Amazon and so on. You might be interested on that one. And Dono, I had another picture, but it didn't land, of the tower at night with the same, moody skies and so on.
Right.
But when I transferred to black and white, it didn't show as good as in color because all the fog and so on, it reflected the yellow light from the tower and so on. It was really, really cool. But when you turn it to black and white, it's just, kind of light being reflected there, and that's it. Maybe I got to play more with it and the filters and so on and see what I can come out with. But yeah, those were the last two I had.
Yeah, well, that's all part of the play of all this stuff. You just got to get out there and you got to try it. You got to see how it works. I noticed you did some with the HDR through the Aurora. Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm. No, this one, no. This one was just a single picture.
Okay.
This one, the HDR one. Let me see. No, it's an HDR, but I think this one was a pano, and I didn't like it how it looked.
Okay.
You see that is more center. You can see all the construction stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know. I like those weird
I
angles better.
I
So
like the angle there. That's a nice angle. All right.
so let me turn back control to you.
And then I think
How
some pictures from Daniela here we got to go over, and then we can wrap up.
can you take it back from me? Oh, hold
Okay.
on. Back to meeting. One.
Yeah, you just have to end your sharing where I
Oh,
can.
stop share.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you go.
it moved it out of my main screen. That's all.
Yeah, it's, when I didn't have it, like I said, I haven't done any Zoom since for about a month. I'm like, all right, where are these buttons? Again? All right. Now, Daniela, you've been kind of quiet. I don't know. Can you, you can type in the chat window if you want to do that, if you want to make any comments and stuff. Now, I noticed that you said you shot most of these pictures with your iPad, if I remember correctly in that little note. Let me back it up again. I think it was, yeah, with an old iPad. Okay, cool. So, one of the things that's really cool with some of these iPads and stuff like that is that, especially when you're working with some of the what they call computational photography stuff, and that's what iPads and iPhones do, or any kind of these things. They actually analyze the picture and try to give you what they think it's a pleasing little picture. It's always, especially now with the newer iPhones, especially when they're shooting that live feature, with your iPhone, you can actually see the transition when you swipe to the photo, and when the phone's algorithm kicks in, and you can see the transition, which is really, really, really kind of cool. My only question is, I was just curious if you had shot these all in black and white, or if you shot them in color and just made them black and white. But other than that, I just really love the composition on this one, especially, again, the eye always goes to the brightest point in the picture, which is where the sun or moon and whatever that is in there. But again, your eye always goes to that, but it's nice, the clouds are nicely backlit. You get the nice little reflection off there, things like that. I think it's an amazing job as far as that goes. Hang on one second. Hang on, I gotta get out of this. There we go. Okay, cool. Danielle wrote it in the chat. I don't know if you guys can see the chat. She said there was color, and I think the saturation was set to 0. It's not a digital. Yeah. I realized it was an iPad and stuff like that. But yeah, again, that's pretty cool. That's an excellent. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Can I ask? I think that's a gorgeous photo. I really love that. Is that processed, or that's great contrast and lighting in there. It also looks like a couple of gradient fill. Is that just? I'm assuming it isn't. Is that right?
Well, according to the chat that Danielle said, she said it was just that she says, I think the saturation was set to 0.
But no contrast settings. I mean in the terms of like focal adjustments, because that really is something to capture that on the iPad straight off, I think.
Just an amazing atmospheric phenomenon. Yeah, I'm sure. Like you said, it's a great picture, Danielle. I appreciate you sharing it with us. All right, see if we can go to the next one. All right. This is a cool little flower. I'm not sure what it is, but again, I know you said you shot these with the iPad stuff, but I really like the way when you got really close, and it was just with that close. Excuse me. Because you get some nice little fine detail with some of the hairs, some of the droplets on there. It's got that nice soft creamy background, things like that. I really like how that looks.
That is, and it's really sharp. like those pistils or stamens or whatever. I again, very impressive, I think.
It makes me wonder, why do we carry, so many equipment and lenses and so on? Come on.
Yeah, I'm wondering the same thing.
Now, guys, don't worry, your cameras are still good. And This was a
Wow.
nice little capture you got. Now, again, from what where you said in the email, these are all from your iPad. So if you got that from your iPad, that's an excellent capture. It's a nice little capture for some lightning in there. Uh, you know, but hang on one second. I gotta figure out what's going on here. Keep losing my mouse here. So let me move this over a little bit and try that again.
Daniela,
So,
where is the location?
yeah, I'm not sure. Wait, if you can want to type in the look, is this that same harbor that you shot at? Janelle?
Wow, cool, cool.
But that's again, that's a nice little capture that you got that lightning strike in there. Were you trying to get it, or you're just hoping that you get some lightning in the shot? Oh, okay, cool. Well, it's a very bad storm with lots of lightning. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Oh, what she said here too, 10 out of focus with the small flower. I'm not
Hey,
sure.
Daniela, you just got me in trouble, you know. I was told you have never taken me to Genoa. So
Well, you have to go back now.
there we go.
But yeah, some great captures you got with the iPad. Yeah, by hand. It says this was a very bad storm, lots of lightning. This we got by hand. It was much better than the automated shot. Yeah, yeah, I made sure. She says maybe you get a chance. But yeah, that's some really cool stuff there that you got there, Daniela. Did anybody else have any comments?
They're so good. Oh, they're so good. I'm discouraged.
I have a suggestion for Daniela on this picture. Maybe she wants to, if you use something like Lightroom, you might want to do a linear gradient filter and just pull, the shadows a little bit, so you have a little bit more definition in this area over here. But the rest is fantastic. And by the way, Daniela, I was just told, no, not that I could go over there one day, that we're going over there at some time. So the boss has spoken.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, I appreciate that, you guys, for sharing that stuff. Well, listen, guys, except for that, Rob, I didn't see that you had any stuff here tonight. So, but did you have any comments or any kind of things? I haven't heard from you tonight.
No, thank you very much. I didn't get a chance to process anything. I do a lot of work lately using the Lightroom on my iPad, and you
Right.
can change. And they updated the masking, which is great. But I often play around with the colors with my fingers, where you can do luminance and saturation, and also the type of color it is. I forgot what's called on the left, and you just modify it. But then you can save different versions. I don't know if you're familiar with Lightroom Cloud, and you can look at all the different versions. It's pretty neat, actually.
Yeah, I haven't played it with too much. So I don't have an iPad anymore. I got just my phone now. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I got a friend of mine who works. She does all her edits on her phone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a tiny screen. How can you do that? But yeah, she's doing
They-
it on her phone.
Lakewood Ranch just had a Rad Drew. He's a photographer who uses his iPhone. He was talking about Snapseed. So I was trying to do both at once. And it's interesting, the masking and some of the things you can do still on Snapseed on the iPhone.
Well, that's cool, Rob. Well, again, Rob, again, I appreciate you coming. And, I hope I didn't block anybody unnecessarily, because after that little interruption, I closed the waiting room down. So so if somebody's out there watching and you got kicked out unnecessarily, I apologize. I'll have to figure out what we're going to have to do. I got another one I got to do for the low light group on Thursday. Now, I know some of you are in the low light group as well too, so I'll tell you guys a little bit of a warning. I'm going to have Ronnie Airy speak at the low light group meeting. He's going to talk about his trip to Peru, shooting the Milky Way out there. So was it Peru or Lima? Oh, I forget. It's in South America. It's one of those countries.
Who's going to be talking?
Ronnie Airy from the Sony rep.
Oh yeah. That definitely is Peru because he shoots with Jose, the guy he invited to the Fire and Light event. And yeah, Jose share. I don't know if it's going to be the same pictures that he's going to share, but Jose on his Instagram account share absolutely gorgeous pictures from the Atacama desert and so on.
Yeah, so I wanted Ronnie Airy to kind of talk about his trip and share some of the pictures and the experience about shooting out there and stuff like that. And like I said, he got some gorgeous pictures as a result from his trip down there. So I figured that'd be kind of cool. Also, too, one of the guys who's on the board of directors for the Anti-Performing Arts Center, they're going to be I'm talking with them back and forth, but it looks like we're going to have like a show for the low light photo group in April/March type of thing. March, April, is that how that works? April, March, April. There we go. So, but I got to get a couple more details for him, but that'll be kind of a fun little thing to do. So I haven't really come up with a theme for it. I don't think I will. I think I just going to open it up to anybody who wants to submit from the low light group for pictures and submit from that type of stuff. But you're going to have to bring your photos here. You can't ship them. You're going to be dropping them off. I'm not hauling things from one spot to another. So that'll definitely be in the rules, as they say. Let's see what else is coming up. You probably saw too. I'm also going to be doing another sunrise photo at the Skyway Bridge. Again, this is it's you guys don't have to do it or anything like that, but again, the idea behind it is to try to get there as quick as I can. You only get about 20-ish minutes, if I remember right, or 15 minutes. I have to look again, but there's not a lot of travel time to get to the spot to go shoot the pictures at. And I don't know what the weather's going to be like, of course, so we'll have to wait. But the good news, January will roll around and we get to do it all over again. So there's that. And I'm currently working on getting a couple of maybe some holiday night tours and I haven't seen Bradenton put their holiday lights up. At least last time I drove through there the other night, I hadn't seen their holiday lights up. I've seen a few holiday things here and there, but usually when they do it, they've got lots of little decorations, and I think that'd be kind of fun to go out and see, especially some of the people on their boats decorate their holiday lights. And I was thinking about maybe doing like a downtown Bradenton one, downtown Sarasota, downtown Venice type of thing, making a trifecta as they were. Not in one night though. A couple of nights spread around, and we'll see how that goes. Let's see what else is going. But yeah, that's pretty much with that. So, I thank you guys for taking the time to share some of your black and white images. I got some really great tips from some of you guys on how you handled some of that stuff. I mean, one of the things with black and white photography for me, it's what I started shooting. It's always been a love-hate relationship with it. I've always enjoyed playing around in the dark room when I was learning this craft. I am not going back to, but but I really enjoyed playing around the darkroom back then, and I learned a lot more about the craft of photography playing around the darkroom than I've ever learned at any other time. And it's amazing what those skills that you pick up and how they can keep moving you forward from those times ahead. And just being able to, again, the thing with black and white photography is, when you shoot in color all the time, you start looking at that, and it's kind of helpful if you can kind of sometimes take a step back and look at how it looks in the tonal ranges, because you never know what you're going to find. When I did that, there's that photo I was showing in the keynote thing where the bird was sitting in the grass. There's another bird in the grass that I didn't even see before until I made it black and white. So again, it's like one of those things, you pick up some details sometimes when you do this stuff. So it's just, again, I never tire of shooting black and white. In fact, we should do one more share wherever I stuck that at. Now that's like a classic. Let me see one more thing. Where did I put it? Did I close it? I didn't close it, did I? There it is. Let's share desktop. Okay, so let's minimize this. So, I like shooting black and white landscape, and I've got a whole thing dedicated to all this stuff. Most of these ones I've shot in color at some point. They're all shot in color, but these top ones right here and here were all shot in black and white and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy doing it. It's like times like you were pointing out when you can't deal with, Glenn, I think you saw this one before this one is was shot in color, but then I processed black and white just to see what it would look like. And it took on such a huge dynamic change versus the one I shot oops, come on, there we go. There it is. In color. So it's like an amazing transformation between these two images, so it's just something that, again, I go back and over with time and time again to kind of play around with. So again, thank you all very much for stopping in. I appreciate it. Danielle, thank you very much. Rob, thank you very much. And anybody who's watching me on Facebook, except for those naughty boys, thank you very much for stopping by. I appreciate it. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you guys around.
Great. Thanks, Donna.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Where am I here? Okay.
No.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, man. It was a pleasure. And Kevin, thank you for all the ideas and suggestions.
Oh, yeah, I loved it. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Thanks, Danielle. Thanks again for sharing. I appreciate it. And guys, have a great night. Thanks again.